Excuse me. Excuse me.
Do you need some more caffeine?
I've been sucking on these all weekend. They ain't
What that?
working.
Red Ball?
Yeah, 'cause my coffee ain't working.
Red Ball don't work.
It really don't.
No. Sometimes you just gotta go to the straight nose candy, Schneef a couple lines.
I can't afford it.
That's right. How do you keep your kids off drugs? Teach them how to reload, then they won't have money for anything else. Speaking of, Chris, I hope you have fun taking all this out because I'm about to. Hello! Welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network, presented by Primary Arms. How's everybody doing?
Waiting on my crack pipe.
Yeah. So Paul said something. The other three just gave a thumbs up. That's going to go great on the audio podcast, kids. Awesome. See, I don't need to wait for crack pipe. I just make my own.
Okay.
See, I used to.
I depend upon the government for all that kind of stuff,
Well, see, I used to janitor in a high school, and high school kids are pretty creative, so plenty of good ideas. It wasn't crack pipes, but pot pipe. They made pot pipes out of a pop can. The most impressive thing, those little tin foil lids that they put on like the small cups of applesauce. They made a pot pipe out of one of those. I was rather impressed.
So you cut the base off of a 308 case, okay, and you got yourself a good one.
There you go.
We talking about reloading or how to make
reloading. You gotta learn to reload that thing.
It's called the 308 short.
Yeah.
Wake up, Jim. Damn, I'm only number 2. Paul Loud's got a great idea, but I'm not saying that one. So,
yeah.
Anyway, so Sharp's response was, "Reloading podcast. This edit will be simple. You will get the welcome to the Reloading podcast, and then the site off. I'm cutting everything else out."
We better put a little bit of content in this one, so he has to work for it,
right? So what's everyone been up to?
Well, like I said, I got a new press. I haven't been able to open it yet because I'm still taking care of all the doctors and everything else here. So
yeah,
I spent the money on a Dillon 550 just to
nice
do precision. Gonna try it to do precision reloads on it.
Okay,
so
that'll be fun.
You should be able to do precision reloads if you single load them.
Well, I'm going to do kind of progressive, but, Widden tool heads and Armanoff tool heads and floating die rings and everything. So we'll see.
Well, you'll make good handgun ammo, if nothing else.
I got something else for that, but I don't worry too much about handgun ammo. I was trying to advance the next level on progressive. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. It can be done.
That's right. It can be done.
Sharonda, what you been up to?
Trapping beavers.
Really? Tell us all about
it. I was trapping beavers in Cooter.
What's a Cooter?
It's a city.
It's a city in Missouri.
Okay.
Tip. I'll let them put in the
city.
Well, yeah, it's a sneeze, blink, drive-through area.
Oh, Podunk USA kind of thing.
What's lower than podunk?
You're right,
Yeah.
Shrinda. It's a blink and you miss it.
Yeah, literally. Like the only
BFE?
reason I noticed is because the sign said cooter. I'm sorry, I can't say that with a straight face.
So anyway, so
There are a
what
lot of places in Missouri are a blink and it's gone, and they have towns with 35 people in them and 45 people. So
wow.
Yeah.
uh,
Or two. I did drive through one that had a population of 2. I don't remember the
Yeah.
name of it.
So anyway, what'd you do with the beavers?
I skinned them. The instructor is taking them, and he's having the gosh, I forgot the correct term now because I'm tired. He's having the hides tanned, pelts tanned. Thank you. And I kept some of the skulls for educational purposes.
Mm-hmm.
And we did C-sections on the ones that were pregnant, and we kept the babies and preserved them.
The embryo.
Embryos, and
Fetus,
they're in different
not
stages.
embryo.
Whatever.
Anyway,
they're in different stages, so that'll be kind of cool to show the kids. And
Well, preserve them in formaldehyde or
Yep.
moonshine, like you joked a while ago.
now it'll be the moonshine. I think they probably would have killed me if we'd used that. But now we have some preservatives and embalming fluid, and I'm getting ready to go snow geese hunting. And I'm gonna take a little break from hunting because I never thought I would say this. Tired of hunting. Tired of like a job this year.
yeah, for you it kind of has been.
Yeesh. My freezers, all 3 of my freezers are full. I'm done.
Well, from your posting on Instagram, I see you tried some of that beaver. It sounded pretty tasty.
Yeah, it was. It was like a cross between. To me, it tastes like gizzard and liver, but the texture was like cubed steak. It was good, and turtle. We ate turtle too.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried some things that I probably wouldn't have tried. It ended up like turtle's nice. Like one part was like lobster. One part was like chicken. What did I do with we froze them and jarred them. The guy that does the teaching, he saves it and sells it by the pound.
So what does turtles have to do with trapping beaver?
So the place where we were trapping the beavers, turtles was set off some of the traps.
Ah, that'll do it.
So the guy that teaches does not waste anything. So if a turtle got caught in the trap, turtle got used.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with good turtle.
Nope. Or
Cooter?
it got reused for bait.
Cooter.
Turtle soup.
It's cooter.
Mm-hmm.
We had turtle nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
Those got fried too.
Very
And top
popular.
shelf.
Very popular down in Florida in that turtle soup. But fried cooter is good too, and that's turtle, deep fried.
Yeah, I had cooter and cooter.
So, Nick, somebody's a little feisty in the chat tonight.
Well, he's probably sitting because he's down in Florida where it's nice and warm. So
Oh.
he's not here freezing his butt off. And I was fixing something for everybody that was wondering. So Paul and Jim know what it was. So
There you go.
Well, yeah.
Well, for sake of transparency, Nick, let's see what you got.
Well, I already threw it away and I fixed it already. I had a case get stuck in my sizing die. The very last one.
God forbid. Was that your first one ever?
No, we actually, once we got these dies set up on my new Lee 4-hole turret press over the weekend, of course, Lee tightens the locking thing for the decapping rod. It wasn't 100% tight, so the first one got stuck. So, but other than that, Yeah, I ran about 200 pieces. On the very last one, I got stuck again, so had to fix that. But
Okay.
other than that, yeah, the new press came in. Got another inline fabrication quick change of base set up over here. And I picked up 50 pieces of primed 6.5 Carcano and primed 6.5 jet brass for a really, really good price. $6 for 50 pieces. I couldn't pass on
Very
that.
good. Very good.
So yeah, the only thing, the Carcanos were Dan prime, so I figured it's prime, so I'll shoot it. We'll see how it does, and if I might try to play, see if I can convert it to boxer. But if not, it was only $6.
There you go.
So that's about it.
Wow. Oh my god. Already.
Now we really hope we get that 13 inches of snow, so you don't get to come home at the end of the week.
Yeah, you're supposed to get pounded again.
Yeah.
It's going to miss us again, suckers.
Yep.
Well, it depends on what you look at. We're either supposed to get 5 inches or we can get 13 and a half inches. I'll take the 13 and a half so I can work from home.
Don't do it. Anyway, so the only thing I do is pick up some fasteners for those aluminum windshields. Am I on?
Yeah,
Yes.
you're there. Come on.
Anyway, I pick up some fasteners for those windshields I was going to put on that new cooker I got, a new zinc melter.
How's that project coming?
I just picked up some fasteners, quarter 20 fasteners, to put the aluminum plates on.
Well, I know, but other than that,
Well, these old bones don't get gotten to the point I don't like cold weather, so I'm waiting for everything to warm up a few more degrees.
why? How cold is it by you?
About 45 to 50.
Oh, poor baby.
That's right. These old arthritis, in them fingers.
Oh, Patsy.
You'll have that.
Got no
Yep.
empathy.
Well, I guess he did move from Pennsylvania for a reason. So
That's right. I did.
there you go.
Get away from the damn snow.
And you still got some down there, sucker.
Not nearly as much as we used to. There were times we'd get 45, 60, 50, 60 inches.
Well, that's because you got lake effect snow.
Yeah.
That's what you get for living in northwest Pennsylvania.
Yeah, you got that right. Well, that time the time Buffalo got hammered with 10 feet of snow in one night, we got about 4 feet of that in one night.
Yeah.
A lot of money to be made there.
Sounds good, John W. Sounds good. He says it's trip. John W. put up the comment. It's time for a trip down to Melbourne. Nice and warm here. Sounds like it might be a time for a coffee break, as they used to call it, face to face.
There you go. So, I got this. Well, this is part of it.
What you
Take
got
down.
there, Michael?
And this is the other part of it.
Takedown.
Haha, screw you, YouTube. I didn't show nothing.
Takedown.
Right now it's a wall hanger.
What caliber is that wall hanger?
22.
Long rifle?
Short, long rifle.
Okay, that's an old one then.
Yeah, it's an old falling black, but I don't know what model for sure, so I got to figure that out. The problem is where the barrel fits into the receiver, the locking mechanism, obviously from age and time, doesn't lock it tight, so it wobbles. So that's why it's going to be a wall hanger probably.
On a 22, you can get away with
Yeah,
a
I could
little.
probably.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see.
your It's a interrupted thread type connection, right?
No, it's not
No?
threaded at all. It's press fit. So
Press fit. Okay.
And it just slides in, and then this little groove here, there's a little tab that rolls up into it.
Okay.
Well, it's possible you may be able to peen that in a way so it'll tighten up a little bit for you, Mike.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, I'll worry about it later. Right now, I want to figure out what the heck, which specifically it is.
Is there a manufacturer's mark on it? Remington.
Yeah, I know it's a Remington.
No, I mean, I know you know that. I
don't
can
know.
actually read that off of YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't read
He's
that.
got he's got patent numbers and everything there. It can be figured out.
Yep.
Remember, Newman Charms are gunparts.com.
Yep. So I got to figure that out. I mean, overall, it's not in bad shape. It's got the actual metal butt plate still, and the stamp you can see on that too.
Remington UMC. That come up nice and clear.
Yeah. So when the camera focuses, it's a really nice camera.
So
the other one I can't show you because it doesn't break down. Well, I can show you the barrel, I guess. So,
What caliber is that one?
.6.
Okay. Bow gun? Look like it.
Yep.
03.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you got that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
To add a little context to it, we're just finishing up a discussion we have in the host chat on Messenger.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So, yeah. So now I've got something to load 30-06 and play with. So it's been modified. Barrel's definitely been chopped down. Nick said, from what I was telling him, I got to send him a whole bunch of pictures to find out for sure. It's got a sporterized stock on it with more of an English grip. And
so you got to go look for an 03 stock.
I don't know, because I got to get it rebarreled if I was going to do that anyway. But yeah, see, it's got more of that English straight.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then this was added as a comb. So,
hey, Mike, did they drill that sight into the side of the receiver, that Lyman sight in the rear? Or is that going into the stock by chance?
The receiver.
Receiver. Okay, that's not too bad, but you could easily remove that. I'll go and get a list. I got the picture still. I'll put a list of parts together, what all we need.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be fun. I don't know what I'm going to do with it for sure yet, but for starters, it'll be fun for playing. It's got a true groove, two groove rifling.
Yeah.
So it was a during World War II barrel replacement, or after World War II surplus.
Nice.
But it's got on the side of the receiver what I'm looking at. It's got the Pedersen device cut out.
Oh, is that what that?
That hole is on the left side. Yep.
Oh.
So that's if you look at the receiver marking, it should say Springfield Armory Mark 1.
Yep.
So that was designed for the Pedersen device.
Oh, okay.
So now all you gotta do is find one of those.
Yeah. Good luck.
Well, Rock Island just sold one. I think it went for about $70,000 for the complete gun and everything.
Yeah. Don't you have to have a stamp for that too?
Nope. It's semi-auto.
Oh, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just in 30, it's like 32 ACP or 32 cal, something like that.
It's 32 ACP.
That's what I thought it was.
Yep.
Be cool if somebody reproduced it, but how many would they truly sell?
It'd be very expensive to
Absolutely.
reproduce. Very, very expensive.
It was very expensive to be made in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, so the topic for tonight is loads for revolvers for target.
We had a Mr. Loud, if I remember correctly, was talking about his new revolver for
Mhm.
his better 3/4, and the subject came up with target loads.
What is a target load?
One, it would be a repeatable round that is accurate, lower velocity, and easy to control.
So you're talking about like a really light load, like a powder puff, what I would call in my vernacular powder puff load, or more commonly called a gallery load.
Could be, yes. You could call it a gallery load or a powder puff load. Um, uh, you know, things like a 38 full wad cutter, which would be a hollow base wad cutter, in a 2.7, 2.8 grains of bullseye load, or 3.5 grains of 231, something along in those lines. HP 38 in the same area.
So
Not much.
we're talking
Not
somewhere around 750 to 800 feet per second then.
under 800 feet per second for sure. 750, even low. 650, something in that range.
Wow.
Yeah,
that is like, it's almost primer territory.
well, no, I mean primers aren't gonna push
No, they won't.
a
I said all
140.
that.
Yeah, a 148 grain down the barrel. It just isn't going to happen.
No.
So, um, but there's other loads out there. I mean, if you wanted to load a powder puff load for a 357, what would you load?
You could do 2.7 under 148 grain double-ended wad cutter into 38 or 357 casing. That's even lighter yet.
But you can get into trouble with that load because of detonation with that. Usually you got to push it a little higher to get that. But how about in a 357 case, a 148 grain with 4.5 to 5 grains of unique.
That's one of my favorite loads.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, there's that. Powders that are good for that one. For that would be Bullseye HP 38, 231, Unique, Tight Group.
I like that
Right.
load for what you just called out, about 4.5 grains of unique. I like that for my pure lead bullets.
Right. And that's what we're really talking about. We're talking about stuff that's not going to lead, that you could teach somebody without any recoil or real problems in having difficulty with them handling the gun.
Well, it's like one thing we don't want to do is hand someone someone that's rather diminutive, and we don't want to give them something like a factory loaded round, 140, 50 grain, 58 grain jacketed hollow point. We don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Not if we want to see them on the range again.
No, but we want, if we sit, the other way to go is how about 130 grain round nose in a 38 special.
Yep.
You can sit down and do that. Then we got dropping down. You have a 32 in a rim case. It's a one of the original target rounds that was out there. It also can run either a 100 grain hollow base wad cutter or a 90. I think it was a 90 grain round nose. But most of the bullets that you'll find for this type of work are a sharp-shouldered wad cutter, so it cuts a clean hole in a target.
Mm-hmm.
I do kind of the same thing where I'm loading for 38 Smith & Wesson for like my Webley, British Webley. I'll cast a 158 grain bullet, which is close to the 38-200 load that they had back then, and I think I'm about 2.7 grains at HP 38. It's just a nice, comfortable gun to shoot at that point, but I'm still close to the original military load.
Okay.
Isn't that 38 short you're talking about? It's a short round. I know it's not the correct name. But isn't that what they were using back in the days of the Filipino Wars?
Yes.
Early on?
I believe so.
They were the Moros, or the Moro tribe, they were shooting them. Yeah, they were having trouble with them. Those guys would get all hopped up on drugs, and they had bamboo body armor on, and the bullets were bouncing off of them.
Yeah, that was, I believe, if it wasn't the 38 Smith, it was a 38 Colt. But that was when they designed the 45 ACP.
No, they just picked the 45 caliber at that time.
Right, because a lot of the guys sending home for their guns have their guns shipped over. Back then,
Browning was the one that came up with the 45 ACP.
They wanted the bigger caliber. He went to the bigger caliber because they were.
That was a requirement by the government to have a 45 caliber bullet, because that's what they had used in their single action guns, and that's what they wanted that, and they left it up to the designer of the gun to pick a cartridge, but it had to meet certain requirements as far as velocity. And Browning did his thing with it.
And Bitnuts put up a good comment. He called it. He confirmed what you said, Nick. 38 Colt.
That's what, I couldn't remember if it was Smith & Wesson or Colt. And then my dad, you're right. It's 3200 and 38 Smith & Wesson.
Is it 38 long Colt or is it 38 Colt?
Long Colt. I believe that one's actually long Colt, unlike 45 Colt is not 45 long Colt.
Right.
45 Colt is 45 Colt.
Exactly. That's the thing about these ammo
Right.
manufacturers. They put long Colt on it. It's like it's not.
Yeah, you know, um, there was long Colt in 38 was to distinguish it between Smith and Wesson 38, not 38 Special, Smith and Wesson 38 versus the Colt 38.
And that's another thing. Like looking at 38 Special and 38 Smith and Wesson. If you look at the old Smith and Wesson Model 10s or the Victories, you have to be careful because they were chambered in both. You need to look at the side of the barrel, or you have a chance of, first of all, the case not fitting. Second of all, even destroying the gun.
Yeah, the original 38 auto with the double locking lugs on it, and people could get in trouble with that real easy.
Those old top brake guns, they couldn't be trusted. I mean,
Ryan Mill, go ahead.
Within limits, they can be trusted, but still, in today's, I guess my thinking is, why would you shoot such an old, weak gun with a top brake, like top brake, like? Why would you do that? Why would you even use it? Put that gun up on the shelf. You know, it's Grandpa's gun.
Why not?
Why not? I don't know. I just don't care to.
Well, I mean,
safety was using an old tool like that.
So you got a 44 Russian with a top brake Smith and Wesson, right? It's still a strong enough gun to handle, that it's not. You're not, as long as you're not making Magnum loads out of it. That's what we're talking about, a target load for here.
Right. I know. Yeah, I keep forgetting. That was the topic for the night, so my apologies.
So we're just sitting there going, if you have a gun like a 38 Colt or you have a 38 Smith and Wesson, how would you go about making a load for it, and what would we do? So we just can't sit there and limit ourselves to 38 Special and that's it.
Okay, let me ask you this then. What about target loads for semi-automatic handguns?
A target load for a semi-automatic handgun is going to be a starting load and with a lead bullet, and try to keep the velocity in the 800 feet per second or less, and to make it so it works the action.
Right. That was where I was hoping you'd go. We have to have enough energy in the cartridge to cycle the action reliably and still be accurate enough the shooter can handle it without flinching.
But I can take a 45 ACP, drop a 185 grain semi wadcutter on about 4 grains of bullseye, and drop my spring from an 18-pound spring down to a 15 or 14 pounds recoil spring. We'll cycle the action and and be a real powder puff shooter. You better have adjustable sights because it's only going to be 650 feet per second with it, and you're going to look at cranking a lot of elevation to hit something past 25 yards.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I was bullseye shooting, we shot at 50 feet.
Okay. I remember shooting at 50 yards, one-handed with a 45 ACP.
Exactly.
50 feet was 22 stuff that we did a lot of shooting with.
Yeah, we were indoors. We were shooting. They had three levels of competition: 45, 38, and anything other than 22 or 45 and 22 alone. You shoot. Didn't matter. The range was heavy enough. The indoor range was heavy enough that you could handle the had like 2.5 inch thick boilerplate on the inside of the one wall. And they would hang paper targets and targets to get down range, and we were shooting at a measured 50 feet.
Okay. Does anybody remember the Smith & Wesson Model 52?
Can't say that I do.
No. How about anybody online that is sitting there?
Oh, let's see here.
No. You can look it up and you'll see a. There we go, a bit nuts. That's what I have, a 52.2. It was a semi-automatic in 38 special that was designed to fire only hollow base wad cutters.
Those are worth some money if you got them.
Yeah.
Nice looking pistol.
They had a lot of them had to have a lot of work to them to make them work, especially the first time around. But there were a lot of gunsmiths that did work on them, and they were very accurate gun. Once they got done with it, they were a very accurate gun that competed with the 45 ACP, but used a lighter load and was probably one of the most accurate semi-automatics ever made at that time. And let's see, letter
I had a
jacketed.
question I wanted to answer. I think it was like 735. It looks like. Where's that at? It's about the Webley 455. Where's that at?
I have to take issue where you guys are just researching something.
There it is. I believe
Sorry,
Jordan,
Nick, bring it up.
I believe Jorgen. I think the 45 ACP is a smaller extractor dimension because a lot of times those are shaved down from 455 to 45 ACP. But I believe so. Don't quote me on that.
In case the same exterior dimensions. No, they are not the same exterior dimensions.
Oh, I misread that. I was an extractor.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
No,
same exterior.
They are the Webley case is a lot different, and you have to use a what we use.
Schofield brass, I thought.
I thought you would take and turn them in a lathe from 45 Colt brass.
Oh yeah, here we go. 45 making 455 from 45 Colt. Trimming the rims. Yeah, you got to trim the rims and the length. Which at that point I don't fight with that. I think Starline makes the brass, so.
Yeah, but if you had to make the brass, you have to use 45 Colt brass.
Mm-hmm.
Turn down the rim, deepen the extractor groove, and shorten the case, if I remember right. And I'm going off the top of my head because it's been a while.
Paul, the comment I was going to make about the Smith Wesson Model 52, I shot 6 rounds out of it, but I didn't remember the model name.
That's okay.
I was on the bullseye range. It was nice, and I do want to make a comment to a bit nuts. Believe it or not, I have made with my swaging equipment. I've made them. He made a comment that there is no such thing as a jacketed wad cutter. I've made jacketed wad cutters, but I had copper cups. I have swaging equipment. But what I think the gentleman means is there is no such thing as a jacketed wad cutter sold on the market in factory ammo or even factory bullets.
You can go to plated bullets in a wad cutter.
Yes.
Barry does plated bullets in wad cutters, both hollow base and double ended. But that's about it. Every company that I knew that used to make factory lead wad cutters was strictly lead, strictly dry lubed, and there were no there was no lubricating grooves on the 38 wad cutter.
That is correct, because you crimp right over the end of the bullet.
Right. And they would also put a fairly mean taper crimp to it.
Yep.
Reason being, the hollow base would allow it to pick up the rifling, and the speed loaders of the day were as such that not of the quality that we have nowadays. So you would put a taper crimp to allow it to be the revolver to be charged easier.
When I was shooting bullseye, I would use my Dan Wesson. It took me a while to learn to use 5 rounds instead of the whole 6.
Okay.
No, it's just force of habit.
Yeah.
I had to break the habit of loading 6 all the time.
Mm-hmm. So back to some loads. 41 again 180 grain, 150 to 180 grain bullet in a 41 Magnum. Trim it down a tenth. I know it's a lot of work, but trim the case down a tenth of an inch. It puts it into 38 special range then, and you can load that with about 7 grains of unique and have a fairly comfortable load.
What would that do? Make like a 41 special?
Yeah, it would be like a 41 special.
I'm being sarcastic.
No, it is. It's a 41 special. That way you know you have a lower charged by shortening the case. You know when you're dealing with it that you have a planking load, a lightweight load. You get a better burn out of it, out of the powder. Well, I don't know about an unmolested 455 Webley Mark 6 cylinder. What do you say to that, Nick?
That's right. I've seen them sell 1,000 all day. One sold at auction recently, about 12, but it was in good shape. So that's one I need to add to my collection. But I don't want to spend that much. I'm waiting for a good deal on one.
A bit nuts. You have to watch that you don't swage the bullet when you taper crimp. Sometimes with a hollow base wad cutter, a taper swaging the bullet, the nose of the bullet isn't so bad because of the hollow base lets the rifling fill up, and the taper on the wad cutter nose allows it to pass through the start to pass through the forcing cone of a revolver without spitting lead that can sometimes happen.
Hey, Nick, Sharp's speaking to you.
You know how Matt Hattie he would get? Who? He probably has an answer to that one. He'll probably put that in the chat.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Paul, that's a good question. That's a very good question. You go ahead and address it, Mr. Nelson.
Is it better to use a Magnum or a longer case to reduce the carbon ring from powder fouling? Carbon fouling is what we're dealing with. Is usually is the problem that you can have. Stay away from ball powders. That'll help. Flake powders, bullseye, unique, things like that don't have a tendency to build up that ring. You will get a little bit of leading there, but there's nothing a brass brush shouldn't take care of, unless you're shooting thousands and thousands of rounds. Going back to it, if it's a 357, yeah, go ahead and use a 357 case, unless you can unless you're thinking that that you're just most people with 357s shoot 38 specials for practice, and I've only seen a couple of them that were really bad. What was it? Who made that Lee lead remover? Does anybody remember that?
It was a end scraper, edge scraper. It was a tool that went down in the cylinder to remove the lead out of the barrel or the cylinder, but it would work because it's real stiff screen. But to put this in context, what we're talking about is shooting 38 special and a 357 habitually, or 44 special and a 44 Magnum habitually.
What happens is that tenth of an inch that the case is shorter on those cartridges, the case expands at that point. The bullet comes out. It starts to obfuscate the cylinder, if I'm saying that right, and the carbon and lead both build up at that point where it starts to fill in, and the hot powder fuses some of the lead and the carbon to that part of the cylinder. Like I said, the Lee lead remover was a cleaning rod that used a rubber expansion and a bronze wire screen to remove the carbon and the lead from inside the cylinder.
Two of our listeners have given us the information. It's not a Lee lead remover; it's a Lewis.
Lewis, there we go. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. There's a number of lead removers that are patch based too that are out there chemically to remove the lead, and a good wire brush. One of the few times that I use a wire brush on a gun. Forcing cones, another area.
Let me ask you this question. Excuse my background noise. I just have to write a speaker. But let me ask you this question: is there such a thing as a gallery load for long gun?
I could say yes, there is. There are low power lead based rounds for rifles that are that you can dig up without too much of a problem on there. I've shot a few of them, but yeah, I mean anything can be developed. The only thing is when you get to really large cases, you can get into detonation problems because the amount of boiler room that the large case has. It just, the primer takes over, and the surface area of the powder is so great that it can cause an explosion.
Paul put up an interesting comment. Copper chore boy works well with a bore mop.
Okay.
That would make sense because you're using the edges of the chore boy. I would not recommend stainless steel.
No. Raymond, is the carbon ring similar to throat erosion in the cylinder?
Not even close, I'd say.
No. A carbon is a buildup. Erosion is wearing away, and there's a whole difference between the two of them. You find not so much erosion in a cylinder, but you do find it on the forcing cone of a revolver, because that's where the powder and flame has a chance to go sideways depending upon the gap there, and two is how the open flame begins to cut into the throat. And oh wow, there's a couple of manufacturers that make throating reamers for revolvers to cut that to a better angle so you get less wear. But it's not for the Not for the heavy-handed. Yes, you can pull out. You can get erosion on the top strap. You can get erosion, cutting. Dan Wesson, one of the 357 Maximum had a um, very big problem with top strap cutting in their in that revolver.
Isn't that what flame cutting actually is a form of erosion?
Yes, it is. But it was with that cartridge, for some reason, it was very, very noticeable quickly. And we do have other cartridges, the 460, the 500 that are doing this, do the same thing, but don't seem to have the the same uh, uh, speed as which the 357 Maximum did.
I
in
believe. Let me correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but wasn't the 357 Maximum loaded up with just about 44 Magnum pit powder capacity with like a 200 grain 357 bullet?
They started with a 180 grain bullet and went up to a 220 grain bullet. And you were talking 1,800 feet per second with a 200 grain bullet. So that puts a hurt on a gun.
Yeah. Well, I could do 1,800 feet per second with 357. That's coming out of my Marlin 1895C. That's the long gun. Right. My God.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember though that the barrels that they were not 2-inch barrels that they were shipping that gun with.
No, that was
that was 10-inch and 14-inch barrels in that in that gun.
This caliber was created to as an attempt to see what it would be like with NRA metallic silhouette.
Right. And the one company that did very well with it, though, was the TC, the Thompson Center Contender.
That's right.
That was a barrel that could handle all three: your 38 Special, your 357, and your 357 Maximum, and the made a very good deer round. Excellent deer round.
Well, again, we're talking about hunting caliber there, 357 Max.
So back to the carbon rings. How many rounds are you looking at of 38 Special before it's actually a serious problem?
I would venture to say 500 to 1,000 rounds. I had carbon rings to the point where I couldn't put a 357 Magnum case in it, but that was after 2,000 rounds. I mean, that's talking about 2,000 rounds, not cleaning my target gun.
Mm-hmm.
Did it come out when you cleaned it?
Yep. Of course it did. Because it's only carbon. I could have gone in there with a little tiny screwdriver and scratched up the inside of my cylinder, and scraped it out, but no, I decided to go the smart way and use solvent and a bronze brush.
Okay.
So in the show notes, I've got links for the Lewis lead remover and one of your cylinder throating reamers from Manson Precision. Both those are listed on Brownells. So
that would be a good cleaning tool for that problem too. Chamber reamer for 357 Magnum. Just use it lightly by hand to clean out the carbon. I know.
I got this thing about, I can work on automatics, not a problem. The timing and precision that goes into a good revolver, I don't mean a junk, but a good revolver. I ain't, there are people like Power Customs, that specialize in revolvers.
I know where you're going, Paul. I know where you're going. Because you got to take that thing down to get that chamber reamer in there. You got to take the cylinder clear off.
Yeah, and taking out those screws and everything else.
I've done it.
I understand, but in a Smith and Wesson, and I own a Dan Wesson, and I own a couple of Smiths, and Power Customs does a great job with stuff. There's another gunsmith. His name is Glenn Miller. He's really good with it too. But there's something about a revolver that is really different than working on an automatic, as in a 1911 or so.
Oh yeah.
Smith and Wesson, pinned its barrels, so you have to take pins out and and then unscrew the barrels to put new barrels in. Knowing how to set the shoulder back on a barrel so you get enough room, so you get enough tenon coming out, so you can face it off to the cylinder, and everything is square and perpendicular.
Yeah, it's a little much it's not for the amateur. Let's put it that way.
No, it isn't. And people wonder why they make milling machines and really good tooling. In order to do that kind of stuff, you have to have one. It's just the only way around it. But a forcing cone, gently, people. You're not looking at manhandling something. You're just trying to do it gently. Same thing with a reamer. You're not going into it with a heavy hand. You have to really.
You don't want to mount that in your cordless drill.
Not even pushing hard on it. With by hand with a T-handle wrench on a reamer. Doesn't work.
Well, it'll work, but it'll work too well.
Yeah. So when you get into that and you really, try to gunsmith, there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of books that you need to read and grab a few junk guns and play with them.
Paul Law's got a good comment up. It's actually a lot safer than what I said, chamber reamer. His comment is, Birchwood Casey lead cloth does a great job of removing carbon rings from the front end of the cylinder. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. Laud.
Nighthawk Customs, okay. Manson Precision is a great company. Ron Powers free spin paw to work on my Ruger. Okay. That's Ron Powers is probably the ultimate revolver gunsmith that is out there. But if you want anything from him, expect to wait a year. Glenn Miller, if you can, he's out of Arizona. He's probably the same thing, about a year, and they do some really, really good work on Smiths.
We had the guy locally here that used to make all the fast draw cowboy action guns for like Cisco, a lot of those top end guys here locally to us. So, what is his name? I'm blanking on his name. Oglesby. I don't know if anybody ever heard of Oglesby Gunsmith.
A long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, he does a lot of like 1911 work. He makes some good stuff. He's here locally to us. Fortunately, his health's not too good, so his kind of gunsmithing's been put on the side.
Depending on what Ruger you have, Brownells does have some of those free spin pulls in stock. So
Try to find someone to work on a Colt Python.
That comment came from a bit nuts. His comment is, try and find someone to work on a Colt Python. They're all dead because the Python is that old.
no, you could find somebody to work on the new Pythons. Not that I'd want to own one, but
I know a couple of guys that still work on Colt Pythons, okay? But nobody wants to work on one. That's the thing.
right.
It isn't.
They're great till you can take them apart.
They're great until you start shooting them, okay?
Oh, that too. So,
Then they happen to fall apart on you. But everybody thinks snake guns are what's the are the way to go. And
yeah, well, everybody thought series 80s and series 90s were the way to go too.
yeah.
So, Paul Loud, you need to give us a full review on that Kimber. So,
Oh man, Paul Loud. Mr. Nelson doesn't own anything less than a Korth. Excuse me, but I don't own a Korth. I would love to play with one, but I ain't gonna spend that kind of money on a Korth. No.
just more confirmation on my comment from earlier. A bit nuts. I converted my series 80s to series 70s. Not the first time I've heard that.
But does anybody remember the bushing, the barrel bushing in a series 70?
I've never seen the inside of a 70.
4 fingers. Okay, instead of a solid bushing,
Yeah,
it had four fingers that went around that went around it to hold on to the barrel.
so like an adjustable pressure.
Well, yeah, it was like an adjustable pressure. But the problem was when you were shooting in competition, it would get hot and break one of those fingers off and jam the gun up. So we would take those off immediately, throw the barrel away on a Series 70, and put in a good barrel that was fitted with a good bushing.
I believe my dad has a Series 8. I think he did some upgrades. I think make it a Series 70, but I'm not sure exactly what he did to it.
Well, 70 and 80. 70, they came out with that funny bushing up in front. So when you got rid of that, you went back to the original, to the solid bushing. 80 came out with the safety with the drop safe gun. What has a little interrupter in there that prevents the firing pin from going any place if you drop it on itself. but it was trigger actuated, so you had to be a little better in playing with it to try to get the gun to shoot with a lighter trigger pull.
Ray Rodden's response to the next comment is he only changed the hammer to a wide spar and added an extended slide release.
Bushing from Briley's. Yeah, okay. There's spherical bushings, and you have to know how to fit them as far as being how many thousandths under and over on the sphere, and it's a little bit of a, you're measuring your barrel. You ain't going to be using your digital calipers on it, guys. You're going to be sitting there using a good micrometer and follow the directions on how to where to measure and mark on your barrel and come back, and you have to remember that that sphere has to slide back enough on that link before it can start to rotate down. So you have to have your barrel fitted through that much of a clearance, so you can get that that bearing. Really, it's a bearing to allow the barrel to unlock.
We got some commentary on this in the side chat about a revolver, I guess it is, called a Korth. I didn't even know there was such a thing. And Chris Sharp is saying it's in the vicinity of $3,700 retail.
Yes, they are, and they also make a 45 that's in the same price range. Plus,
You mean, is that a 1911 frame or 45 Colt?
1911 frame.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
$3,700.
it's German. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So
that's why I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, it is 100% German, and I have
100% not cheap.
Well, there's nothing in German that is cheap.
For that kind of thing, it better reload its own ammo.
Well, come on, guys. I mean, we sit down and you look at what, $2,000 for a 416, right?
Yep.
For parts. And you're sitting there, and what is it? It's a friggin' M4.
Meh. So, there you go. Loud said just eat ramen for a couple months. No. I don't know if a Korth saw that it's really cracked up to be, so. Especially with how nice those Kimbers are now.
If the gun's that expensive, it is worth a tinker's damn to the average guy.
Yeah.
We've been having issues with Kimbers at the store recently.
Semi-autos or revolvers?
Both.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What's the problems with the revolvers?
We had
I
two
know
come in.
semis have a problem.
Two come in at a time. Very first pull the hammer wouldn't go back forward. The cylinder locked up.
Huh.
So
Wow.
we've had two of the Micro 9 chambers blow up.
Wow.
Yeah, they've always had a QC problem with their semi-autos. I've got a lot
That
of
Micro 9 is just too small. The dwell time's not there. They've always had issues with that Micro 9.
I've got a few friends that, I shouldn't say friends, but people that I know from the industry that do training classes, and the first thing they do when a kimber comes in is they either say you can take that back out, or or they ask how many rounds they've gotten through it. And usually they'll do a range test on it before they'll let them bring them and use them for concealed carry class or training classes, because there's too many issues with them. So, but they've gotten better. Honestly, the one thing I can say about Kimber, you're the first person I've heard that's had any issues with the revolvers.
Yeah, majority of them came in that have been pretty good, but there's been just those couple that have had issues.
Yeah.
But that's any major company, you're going to have QC issues.
Right.
Bad timing completely, or?
Well, I could tell, being that the cylinder locked up and the hammer locked back, I could tell it was out of timing, because I could see almost half the cylinder that should be lined up down the bore was hanging halfway up to the side.
Wow.
I'm like, thank goodness I checked guns in that day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, this is going right back in the box and right back to the warehouse to go out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of they've got a few different options. What is it, K6S or KS6? I can never remember. But it's really nice. The few I've seen and played with, including the one I shot a couple of years ago, was actually pretty nice.
I'm just trying to think. I mean, that if it's only going halfway, that paw on the ratchet on the cylinder has got to be so short or so loose for that, for it to be halfway.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I'm like, because I've had issues like with the Taurus revolvers. That doesn't shock me. It's a Taurus, but
but I mean that's minor as far as how the cylinder aligns. But when you're telling me it comes up halfway, I mean either that paw that moves the ratchet, or the ratchet itself is so short that the paw doesn't have have any more room to push it up. Wow.
I saw that. I'm like, nope, this isn't. I'm the only one that's going to get to see this. I told my boss, hey, this has got to go back. I don't want to, even if I got it fixed, the hammer down and what looked like back in time, I'm not going to sell it to someone, because who knows what issues you could have down the road. So
sounds to me like somebody at well, we're talking about Cold or S&W?
This is Kimber.
Kimber. Okay, excuse me. Sounds like somebody at Kimber forgot to do the final inspection on the gun.
Yeah. Oh, well, they did. They think they came back, said something in the internals. I don't remember exactly. This was a year ago, so there was something to do. The internals wasn't lining up, or something.
You have the paw that comes up, and there's a slot in the face of the revolver. So this paw comes up through the face of the revolver, and then there's your star, and in your star there's depending upon if a 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 shot, there are little bumps. Okay, let's call it just a bump. All right, because it's just, and that paw comes up and comes into that bump and pushes up until the bolt down on the bottom locks the cylinder into place. Now, if it doesn't go all the way up, then there, the paw is too short. If the paw doesn't have the right spring in it, it could pull away from that part of the star and do it. But that's no, I boy, that scares the shit out of me.
That's yeah. I was like, I'd try because I've had that on like Smith. The hammer gets stuck back, but it was still over the cylinder was timed all good. But when I saw this, I'm like, this has got me confused so much and scared to my mind. This is going back.
Like Paul Odd said, it must have been a Friday gun.
Wouldn't shock me.
Yeah.
We've had plenty of other stuff that comes in, especially like shotguns, rifles. You can tell they don't line, nothing lines up. You can tell it was either on a Friday or first thing Monday morning after a long weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's why they make gunsmiths, right?
Yep.
The old saying goes, why is there never enough time to make it right the first time, but there's always enough time to make it over?
Seems that way anyway.
Yeah, it does.
Well, I mean, I'm waiting to see what happens with Smith and Wesson moves. Kimber is looking to move.
Kimber's already got a new factory. They're already in the process of moving. It's not a matter of looking to move. They're in the process heavily.
I don't know what Remington is going to do. Remington Firearms. They're talking about moving.
Well, they've got that plant in Alabama. So
yeah. And didn't they just lose $73 million today?
I'm not sure who's going to be on the hook for that. That's the problem is I don't know if that was determined on who's on the hook for that with the bankruptcy proceedings.
Who lost $73 million?
Remington.
Oh.
They settled Sandy Hook.
Out of court.
God.
So
I did not know that. My God.
Yep. So anyway, anybody got any shout outs?
Yeah. Michael Dunn. You remember he loaded up his first round today?
Yep.
I just wanted to throw a shout out to that guy.
Good job.
He's been a fan for a while, and I just wanted to take and give him a little bump, a little boost, as I like to call it.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll second that, Jim. He's asked me a lot of questions on Discord on stuff, stuff like that. And I know he's got I believe it's his grandfather's. It's actually a 1917 Winchester, and he was asking me a ton of questions on that. So
good.
Yep.
Now that's a 30-06 rifle too, isn't it?
It is. It is. Bad thing about those is, especially if it's sporterized, you have to be careful because about 50% of the time it's not in the original caliber. Because that receiver's very well built that it can handle up to some of those super high pressure loads. So
I think we lost Sharonda.
Yep.
So
shout out to all the people that are protesting all over Canada and America and for especially Canada. They're putting a lot on the line to fight. So
I mean, that's these guys are going against what is it, martial law now? That
pretty much.
Mhm.
that that their
Turdo.
king
Yeah, they're king.
declared a problem.
Yep.
And who was it? I was listening to Coleon Noir today, and they had a Republican, a woman Republican, running for office there, and being interviewed by the Australian press.
God.
And
That turned out pretty fun.
if any of you out there, just go out there, listen to it, and give it a thumbs up. I mean, because she just put this guy down,
Mm-hmm.
like you wouldn't believe.
She held her own against liberal newsy.
Oh, she didn't hold her own. She stepped on him,
Yeah.
you
I like
know.
that.
So
I got another shout out real quick. 76 Highboy Reloading. Stumbled upon his channel a couple weeks ago. He does a live stream, I believe, once or twice a week. Great channel. He's been doing it for a long time. Covers a lot of stuff, and I started talking to him, and I'm gonna try to work out a time for him to come on the show. And
He just signed in.
yep. I sent a message earlier on the night.
So I don't have any shout outs. So but yeah.
We'll let you do the Mercedes tagline because you can do the voices, Mike. By the way, Nick, how's Candy? How's your girlfriend Candy?
She brought me some chocolate chips cookies tonight.
See there, you got to treat the lady right.
There you go.
By the way,
what did you get candy for Valentine's Day, Nick?
Absolutely nothing.
Swift kick.
Absolutely nothing, huh? Oh.
Oh, she took one look at his reload room. She says, "You dedicated a whole room to reloading."
Why wouldn't you?
Hey, Paul, it's good. Paul Loud, it's good to see somebody else cost you money. Sucker. Way to go, 76 Highboy Reloading. We always love spending people's monies. Anyway, that kind of wraps it up for tonight. Make sure you swing over to Patriot Patch Company, patriotpatch.co. This is the patch of the month for the month of February.
Yep.
Distance makes the heart grow fonder.
Yep.
So they got all sorts of good stuff. They got magnet bases and everything. All sorts of fun stuff there. Remember to swing over to Primary Arms. Check out their over 17,000 different items that they have in stock or available for order. I was just looking at cartridge conversions. Ooh, that's interesting. So yeah, check them out. They got all sorts of fun stuff, including fun stuff for looking at, like for your 1911s, for your Glocks, your 22 long rifle conversions. So make sure you give them a good look. Not to mention the fact that they've also got actual firearms and ammunition and firearm parts and everything you need. So, and on that note, keep your brass shiny.
Jump on the mill short bus.
Despite what your mama told you, violence does solve problems.
I agree with Grandpa, but my tagline is support the Second Amendment, two-way, all the way.
And Sharundus, teach a lady to reload. She just might like it. Any word on Jason or Travis? Jason is still in the midst of all of the fun stuff involved with moving and getting more property. Today I saw he's putting up a greenhouse. So there was some issues with that. I did invite him on specifically, but since we were talking about revolver stuff, but he was busy with all of that fun stuff. I think Kathy figured out that his plan was to keep her out in the greenhouse, and she got pissed and beat him or something. But you never know. Travis has been busy with family stuff, so it's winter season, and he's got a couple of kids doing some sports and stuff, so that's kind of keeping him busy. But yeah, so remember, if you're struggling, 1-800-273-8255. Reach out. It's courageous to ask for help. It's not cowardice. Remember that. Thanks, everyone, and good night.
Right.